Thank you for coming back. I think this is a very important topic to speak about because, quite honestly, too many females, they're having situationships and they're putting all their trust and faith in people who are showing them, without a shadow of doubt, that they should not have these people in their lives. Okay, so let me give you a little story time so you can be able to understand or get a gist of what I'm exactly talking about. When I was, I'll say 26, my my ex and I made the decision to rekindle, reevaluate our previous relationship, and I wanted to be able to give it a try. And in the beginning, it seemed like it was going to work. He and I had gotten on very good terms, and I felt like the relationship was going to be better than it was when we did it the first time. However, a few months into us rekindling things, he ended up coming to my apartment, and I remember him knocking on the door. And he came in, he closed the door, and he immediately walked into the hallway bathroom, sat on the toilet, and put his hands on his face, and he was sobbing. It was like he was sobbing uncontrollably. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I asked him, I said, what's wrong? And he said, Netta, I got something to tell you, and I don't know how you're going to take it. And I said, well, just tell me. And he just started sobbing again. And I said, hey, man, just tell me what's going on. We can be able to work through this. What's going on? Nothing could have prepared me for the words that were going to follow. That man sat there on my toilet, with tears in his eyes. And he said to me, Netta, I effed up again. I was seeing another girl behind your back, and she's currently 9 months pregnant, and she wants to come upstairs to use the bathroom. And I told her that you're my sister. I had zero time to think, because after those words came, there was a knock on the door. And here comes this beautiful brown skinned chocolate thing come through the door. And she was like, oh, you're so pretty. You must be his sister. And he already showed me a picture of his nieces and nephews. Now, let me pause there. His niece and his nephews were actually his biological children. So let me continue with this story. I saw a picture of you with his niece and nephews, and he's talked about y'all so much. I feel like I know y'all already. Where's the restroom? I couldn't say anything. All I could do was point towards the hallway. And she said, thank you. And I remember my ex came out the bathroom. He turned on the light for her, and he walked into the living room and sat down on the couch. And he said, please, Netta, don't tell her. I looked at him in his face. I said, once she's done, I'm done with you. Don't come back to my home. We can make arrangements when it comes to the kids. And that was supposed to be that, right? So after he left with her, I'm going to be honest, I cried because once again, I was made a fool of by this man. I had gotten my feelings all tangled up, started feeling like I was falling back in love with him the whole nine. And I just could not believe that I had stooped to that level to believe in someone who had repeatedly shown me that I should not have trusted him. Now, once I got to that point where I couldn't trust him anymore and I didn't want to trust him anymore, I ended up eventually forgiving him. But I said I can't trust him as far as I can throw him. So fast forward, after their baby is born, I end up being their sitter because I ended up connecting with the young lady. Well, I thought at that point that she and I had connected, but we didn't. She just needed a babysitter in order for her to be able to go back to work. And it became, and I'm going to just say it became a real shit show. I ended up having to tell the young lady the truth, that I was his ex-girlfriend and that those children were actually his sons and his daughter. And she didn't like that at all. She started acting oddly towards me, and then it became very obvious that her feelings towards me changed. And she started saying things that in her eyes was supposed to be hurting me. But because of the things that she was saying that I knew were not true, I would hit her with the truth. She didn't like that. So she ended up telling my ex about what I said. And when he turned around and told her that the words that I stated to her were true, that's when things started turning in her head. But it was too late. She was already on baby number 2, and she didn't want to give up her family. And I could understand that. But I knew that she was miserable. And the reason why I knew that she was miserable, because after he had told her that he had been lying to her that whole entire time, she came to me and she apologized. And she said she appreciated me being truthful and honest. And out of that situation, we ended up forging a friendship. She was somebody who was a good friend. Unfortunately, she's not here anymore. She passed away a few years ago. But even though her and I were caught up in an entanglement that she and I both did not sign up for, I felt sorry for her because she was younger than me. And I didn't want to have friction with someone when it wasn't her fault in the first place. It was that man's fault. It was that man that was going back telling her things about me that were untrue. That man was also coming to me telling me things about the young lady that were not true. And it was almost as if he wanted for us to have friction with one another. But thank God that young lady had enough common sense to understand and know that that man was literally yanking her chain. Now, fast forward, he ends up doing that with his now ex-wife. Had her thinking all this weird stuff about me, and she would say the most outrageous things to me. I could not understand, to save my life, why this woman was being the way that she was. He just was talking to me in a reckless way, and I'm like, yo, I ain't been with your man in years. I'm not even checking for your man. I just want him to be a father to our children. But she was hell bent on keeping, as she put in my face, she wanted to keep all his baby mamas in check so that they would know that she was the one that he chose. Not caring that I said, I don't care about this man and I don't care what y'all got going on. But I also let her know that the lies that she's accepting from him, that he's going to turn around and do the same thing to her. And she let me know that he'll never do that to her because he loved her, and that she wasn't going to allow his baby mamas to mess up her relationship. So I stepped off. But I couldn't step off far enough from this woman because it seemed like she was hell bent on trying to make the fantasy of who her man was in her head be a reality. And I couldn't be upset with her until our very last encounter, where she started spouting out a lot of things that were untrue. And she decided she wanted to call me out my name. So I went toe to toe with somebody, calling them out of their names, and let her know you about to witness what it is that everybody else has gone through. And unfortunately, she did. But I say all that to say this. I wasn't trying to go back and forth with nobody's girlfriends, mistresses, lovers. I wasn't trying to do that at all. The one part that I did not add is that I would take it right back to him. I would go toe to toe with him. I would speak to him because those are his words and what he portrayed as his truth. And I wasn't trying to have friction with outsiders when I didn't lay down and create children with those women. I did that with that man. And because that man wanted to look a certain way in these women's eyes, he had to project me as being a villain in his victim story. And I couldn't tolerate it. And I did not. Now, that's my story. But I'm seeing a lot of young ladies that are out here that take the crap that a man go and feed to another woman that they're laying up with. That woman is going to the other woman and they're having friction. Now, I understand that when two females get into it, they can be able to take it way too far, especially because of the feelings that they have for this one particular gentleman. But someone has to have enough common sense to be able to say, hey, baby, it ain't us. It's the common denominator between us that is the problem. We need to throw all of that on him. We don't need to be at odds because the problem isn't us. The problem is him. And I don't understand why females today that would rather go and be ride or die for a man who is purposely playing them with someone else. It makes no sense. That man is for the community, and he is causing friction within the community simply because of the fact that he feels like he's the catch. And the catch is that he's no good for either one of you. But one woman feels like she's superior because this man is laying up with her every night, and the other woman is feeling like she has been sold a dream by this man, and that now that dream is going to be going unfulfilled simply because of the lies that he told her. Then the woman that he's actually with, or that she thinks he's actually with, is now having friction and all types of turmoil with the other woman, not taking into consideration that all of this, all of these pieces in this game was put together and orchestrated by this one man who simply wants to have his own way. Now, men do the things that they do simply because that's what they want to be able to do, same as women. There are women that are out there that do men in the same way. So I'm not going to categorize it as if it's just men who are out there doing wrong. So when it all boils down to it, we as women, we need to take the time out and be able to flush out the fact that if it wasn't for that man, that woman would not be in your life. If it wasn't for that man who's out there doing whatever he wants to do and trying to cover it up, that you wouldn't have a friction with another female or other females if he would not have entertained those women in the first place. Especially if you feel like you are the main woman or supposed to be the main woman in his life. There are so many other things in this world to lend your voice to, but to go back and forth with another female about what your man decided that he wanted to do, that should be an absolute no. Now, there are some females that are out there, regardless if they're related to you or unrelated, they know that this is your man. I can be able to understand you going toe to toe with her because of the fact that she was your friend or she was your family member. And why is it that she's entertaining someone that you're with? I get that. I get that 1,000%, because I would not want anybody stepping on my toes in that manner at all. What I'm saying is that we have to take the time to learn that every battle shouldn't be fought. We don't have to fight everyone. We don't have to fight a person simply because of the fact that that's what we feel like we need to do. We don't need to argue with a person over our man if we don't know this person don't know us, didn't know that we existed. Let's keep it 100. Why would you want to go back and forth with someone who don't know you? Why? What sense does it make? The person who does is that person who cheated on you with that other person. So instead of pulling that side piece into the fold and wanting to go back and forth with them, keep it cute and keep it with that person who literally opened up the door to allow that chaos to come in. Because it's not that stranger's fault. That stranger is only accepting what it is that that other person is willing to give. They're willing to put that person in their lives. They're willing to lie and make it seem as if they're not in a relationship with you. They're willing to do these things for this other person unbeknownst to you. It's not up to you to correct what's going on with that stranger. That stranger has nothing to do with your man or your woman wanting to creep. And quite honestly, you don't have anything to do with that either. It doesn't matter if the excuse is because of something that you lack. Instead of you internalizing it, look at it in this way. Why did they continue on with the relationship if they knew that that lack existed? Why would they continue to play with your emotions to make it seem as if everything was okay, to seem as if this is what they wanted, when in reality, they did not want what it was that you were willing to give them? This is something that you can't go and ask a stranger. You can only get that from the person who is causing the conflict in the first place, which is the person who is cheating on you. They're not letting go of that entanglement. They're not willing to let it go. Being in a relationship, you have to be with someone who you can at least share common traits with. That's the building blocks of a relationship, in my opinion. I can't be with someone who doesn't like some of the things that I like or the majority of the things that I like. I can't be with someone who can't sit down and watch a documentary or be able to hold an intelligent conversation or even have emotional maturity. I just can't. And that's simply because of the fact that if we're not on the same page in those areas, then I know that the intimacy that I'm looking for, you can't give me. I need you to stimulate my mind. I need you to be able to stimulate all of my senses. And I need you to be able to do that outside of the bedroom. That's just my opinion. I've been through relationships where we've been unevenly yoked. I've been in a relationship where a man has chosen to be with someone else besides me. And I've been the one that has to cut that off because I'm afraid of STIs, deathly afraid of them. So I know that this may or may not hit home for a lot of people, but I wanted to be able to speak about this topic because I'm seeing too many people, especially females, losing their lives, losing their freedom over stuff that they really should not be putting themselves in, especially when it comes to someone making the decision that they want to go and fulfill themselves with someone else. And in my eyes, when you want to go back and forth with another person, you want to be able to control that stranger and you want to be able to control the person that you want to be with. I think that right there is dead wrong. If you're like me and cheating is one of those things that you just cannot tolerate, then let it go, heal, and move on. And that's it. If this is an episode that you like, great. If not, this is just not the episode for you. Maybe next time. But until then,